This video is entitled Surviving Your Original Family, or Can I Go Home Again? Hi, I'm Andrew Halsman. I work at Family Tree Counseling Associates in Carmel, Indiana. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist with over 30 years experience, and I wanted to share some thoughts on surviving your family, meaning if you have parents and you have siblings and you're going home to see them and you have some therapy under your belt and some recovery and some insight under your belt, might be a little difficult proposition, as often people do find that to be. I had a client recently, she said to me, I don't know if I'm healthy enough to go home and survive my dysfunctional family. And that struck me as quite a interesting and prescient statement, meaning she was working on herself. She was working on trying to be healthy, and being home with the people who trained you and gave you examples and gave you role models would pull you back again, would be difficult. Clients often find, and individuals often find, that they love and care deeply for their family, as well they should, but at the same time, they've developed strategies to protect themselves and protect themselves against the things that have hurt them in their families, such as parents who, for whatever reason, were not there for them either physically or emotionally. Your parent might be ill, your parent might be working a lot, there might be some kind of addiction in the family, there might be some kind of family pattern where people fight all the time, or there just might be secrets and gossiping, triangling as we call it, where people are not direct with each other. So there are many factors that can develop in a family, of course, and families are still what is important and still the way everyone is raised. And you want to be close and you want to be connected and you want to be loved and you want to be accepted. But at the same time, you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to figure out, how can I be who I need to be? How can I be myself in this family? And we develop strategies. We develop emotional and mental strategies to take care of ourselves in every family. So one strategy might be to be very connected and very accepting and very understanding and very codependent, and just go along with everything that's said to you, and just be the person who's supportive and sweet and caring and loving. You might be putting on a false face by doing that, because there might be things that, if you're thinking about or feeling, might not feel good to you, but to protect yourself, you'd have to be this person who's just accepting and understanding all the time. Or you might just shut down. You might just go away. You just might hole up in your room and put your music on, or go out with your friends, or leave the home and join the military, or get married early. You know, all of these strategies are strategies that people think are just, kind of being themselves, being normal, but they might also be, if you looked at it a little closer, strategies in which a person finds ways to get out of that family, to take care of themselves. And some people are aware enough to know that their family is difficult or dysfunctional and find ways to get away from it. The problem, of course, is you can physically get away from almost anything, but emotionally might not be so easy, because we bring the training and the examples and the role models with us into our grown-up life. So when we get in a relationship, when we get married, when we find someone to love, we're going to replicate some of those issues that are unresolved, or that we just think of as normal, even if we don't like them. We're trained in a certain way. We're given examples. We're given role models. We're given ways to react and to interact that make sense to us, not on purpose often, but just that's in our lifeblood. That's the way we see things. So I'm going to see the world through the eyes of my family. It's going to be very difficult not to see the world that way. So I have an example, for instance, when I'm in my office and I'm in front of a couple or a person, and I'm trying to illustrate how stuck we can be. I get up out of my chair and I walk towards the wall, and I say, well, this is my most direct route to the waiting room outside of my office. And I say, well, I'm not getting through, so let me try harder. So I back up and I mimic running into the wall. Now, of course, that won't work either. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to bloody my nose. I'm going to knock myself out. It's going to be uncomfortable to say the least. So I sit down and I say, well, that's what we do. We just try harder. We work harder at what we know how to do. And then I point behind myself a little bit and I say, well, there's the door. And if we have some insight, if we have some therapy, if we have some options, then we can see the door. But if we don't, if we're just thinking the way that we've always thought, if we're just dealing with life in the way that our family has always dealt with life, we might just keep doing the same things. So we might be in a relationship, and when we get stressed, when a person, an individual gets stressed, they might just shut down and be quiet because it's too scary to voice your opinion, because you might get yelled at, you might get hurt, you might get criticized in some way, or you might fight back, you might be, intense, you might feel like you're in a corner, you might rage because you want to get past that hurt feeling, that scared feeling. And both of those ways will work to some degree, but over time in relationships, they will break down. You will be in a relationship and the person will wonder who you are if you never say anything, or you will have incredible fights and it will be unsafe if you're always, hurting each other. So how does this change? How can you change the family of origin? Well, that's going to be impossible. You can't change your family. If you go home, your family is going to be pretty stuck in their ways. They're going to be pretty rigid in how they do things, and no amount of you going there and trying to therapeutize them or argue with them or try to fix them will help. In fact, that will be destructive, and you should stop that immediately, because that just won't work. That will just create more disconnections in the family, more triangling, meaning people taking sides, more hurt, more abandonment, more frustration. So, a person who has some therapy under their belt might want to make everybody healthier and happier. And the idea is great, but the execution, if you're trying to do it in terms of changing another person or a group of people, might be destructive. I had a client who went home again, and he was an educated person, good job, marriage. His family is maybe not as educated. They were a farm family. They were comfortable in doing what they did. When he went home, he felt very alone. He felt very sad because he got made fun of for being this person with a good job and being educated. Doesn't quite make sense. In that way, you think you'd be proud of a person, but families are interesting in their own way. Every family, deals with their pain in their own way. So this family felt like he was an outsider, felt like possibly he was judging them. This man sat in my office and was tearful about the difficulty in connecting to his family. And he tried to be a part of the family. He tried to argue with them. He tried to educate them. That didn't work. So what does work? Well, first off, you have to learn that really it's about working on yourself. You have to embrace the idea that your therapy, your recovery, your health is what will change things. So if you become a person who is healthier, meaning you're more self-differentiated, again, meaning that you're more comfortable with your way of doing things and your way of talking, where you don't have to argue, you don't have to hide or fight, but you're yourself. You're saying, okay, this is how I think, this is who I am, I'm just going to express that, but I don't have to make the other people understand that. If you don't get sucked into the quicksand of the dysfunction, then already you're doing something healthier than what you've done before. Sometimes you don't have to do anything. Sometimes you just have to observe and lean back a little bit and take it in until you're ready to be healthier. which is not be reactive. Not be reactive meaning not blowing up or not shutting down. So you can bring folks into your life who are unhealthy, be it your family or be it friends or anyone who you care about, and not get caught up in their dysfunction. That's a really hard thing to do, but it really starts with differentiation. Differentiation is the idea of being ourselves to important people in our lives without without having to change. We do this by managing our emotional responses and avoiding the traps of enmeshment, cutoff, and giving up who we really are. And that is easy to say, very hard to do. We don't want to be fake in relationships, but we want to be real. It's kind of the whole point of that. We want to be ourselves. We want to be real. We cannot change another person, be it our spouse or be it our family. And the difficulty in that is we see things that aren't healthy in our family, and we want them to understand what would be a better way, how we could be closer. The way we can be closer, again, and I will repeat this, is we work on ourselves. We take care of understanding who we are, what we need, and being able to express that in a non-reactive way. And that's how we can go home again. We don't have to convince anyone of anything. We do it when we're calm enough to be ourselves and to be confident in ourselves. Thank you for listening. I'm Andy Holzman. My number is 317-457-8668. My email is aholzman, HOLZMAN 2 at Comcast.net. I work with the great folks at Family Tree Counseling Associates in Carmel, Indiana. I'm available if you want to call me or email me. And thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Bye.